It's been 6 years since we've last gotten a project from Ab-Soul, but that ends today with the release of his latest project, Herbert. Now, usually when someone goes away for an extended period of time and then comes back with a project, you kind of expect them to have maybe a different outlook on things, tell you what they've been up to, and that's basically what we got with this project. Ab-Soul, like I said, has been away for a while, but he's had time to kind of think about life and things going on with his life. If you haven't already seen the interview with Charlemagne, definitely check that out because it gives you a pretty decent insight into the project, I feel. Or at least I got some good insight into the project, especially before listening to it. After listening to it, yeah, sure, makes things make a little bit more sense. But yeah, it's been a while since we've heard from him. And yeah, we do get to hear a bit of what was going on in that time. Now, he did mention in that interview that the album was pretty much done, and it just had, I guess, some finishing touches. And, some songs make reference to things that have happened more recently in his life later on in the track list, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Now, the album itself starts off with the track Message in a Bottle, which begins with a voice message, I guess, or voice recording of his grandmother reciting a proverb, which, makes sense for Ab-Soul. But the main thing that I got, and what most people will get from an intro, is kind of the tone that's being set for the album. Now, like I said, I did listen to the interview that I did before the album dropped, so I guess I already knew what I was getting, but this intro kind of tells you where his mind was at, or at least, yeah, like prior to the album releasing or before some other events in his life. Essentially what we get is him saying, they hate me, then love me, then hate me again. And we also got some clips from the Joe Budden podcast where they're talking about Ab-Soul. And, that's something that I feel like some people talk about. Like, Ab-Soul has been around for so long, and Ab-Soul has always been thought of as one of the better rappers in TDE. I mean, a lot of times, or at least in my circles, people put him above Kendrick, and that's not too common, I feel. But regardless, I mean, he is a very solid rapper, and he always comes in with a concept. And this album, even though he said in the interview that he didn't actually set out with a concept, we get a little bit of that. And as we go through the project, we see that we're just learning about him and where he is at. Him saying they hate me, then love me, they hate me again is something that he touched on in that interview, where it's like, okay, has all this self-doubt. And, as a rapper, you gotta be braggadocious. You gotta say that you're the best. And, Ab-Soul can definitely back that up. But, that's something that we don't talk about as much necessarily, like the self-doubt. Like, oh yeah, no, I can do these things, but what if I can't? Or what if I'm not good enough to do so? And he's not necessarily saying that straight up on this track, but that's kind of the vibe that I got from it. This also goes right into the next track, Report Card, which I really enjoyed as a follow-up to that, because it basically takes that self-doubt and then turns it into him just being braggadocious. I think the hook was like, the hook or chorus, whatever you want to call it, was solo, don't go so hard. And it's a really good second track to the album, because with the first track, like I said, you get an idea of what the album's going to be about. The second track is really what brings me in usually. Like, it's like, oh, this is now the album started, essentially. The track list continues on to one of the singles, I believe, Hollandaise. And I actually didn't even think that this was going to be on the album. Even though I looked at the track list for the album before it dropped, I didn't even recognize that this was on there. Hollandaise, when it came out, I did originally do a breakdown for it. It never came out because I did not like the song. The song just felt really phoned in and kind of poppy. But when it's in the context of the album, it makes a lot more sense. Not necessarily because of subject matter, but because it's a follow-up to Report Card, where the solo's going hard. You get this more, I guess, poppy sort of sound, but then there's a beat switch and it just shifts tones almost entirely. And I think that worked really well for him. This is another thing that this is not the only time that he did it on this album. He actually also did it on Moonshooter, which I think is either the next track or a couple tracks after, or actually it is the next track. Moonshooter, when it came out, I wasn't too big on it. I did do a breakdown for it. I feel like it was okay overall, but I didn't really care at that time. And although he did make some changes to it in the sense that he added Joey Badass as a featured guest at the end of the track, I still don't really. I'm not gonna go and be like, oh yeah, I need to listen to Moonshooter, especially for that Joey Badass verse. The other thing that came to mind when I saw that Joey Badass was on the song was like, oh yeah, Joey Badass did drop an album this year. That did happen. Next we get FOMF, Fuck On My Face. This is, I guess, the actual single for the album once it came out because it has a video for it. It's just a fun song. At least the energy from it is fun. The video is really nice. It's basically just got, I guess, everyone who's currently on TD minus SZA, and it's just a fun video. I think this is the one that they shot like literally last week. Then we have Goodman, which features Punch, TD label head man. It's a very solid song as well. Like I said, I've only listened to this a couple times because it just came out today, so I can't remember every track. But this then goes into Do Better, which was another single, which if you have watched the video for that single, you get this imagery and you see Ab-Soul jump off of a bridge or an overpass, I guess. And that kind of goes into the whole, not the whole idea or part, it's more of like part of the idea of the album. Ab-Soul has confirmed that he attempted suicide, and it seems like it was drug induced according to him. But because of that, he says there's no lasting things going on, but I feel like there's a little bit. But in any case, he seems to be in a better place now, and I'm glad that he's still here. But the video is pretty intense, and it's just, it talks about, like I said in the beginning, a lot of self-doubt, and I think that's a major theme of this project. There's a lot of self-doubt in a lot of people, and it's sometimes it can get overwhelming. Like, although Ab-Soul attempted what he attempted due to drug use, according to him again, he now understands further why and how hard it is for some people to deal with these things, and why what he did is, like, he gets it, I guess. But by the end of Do Better, he realizes, over the track, he realized, no, there are people around me to help support me and everything that he needs. As we get through the middle of the album, we have Wild Side, Art of Seduction, and Bucket, which I do enjoy in context of the album again. Like, these are songs that Ab-Soul makes that I'm totally fine with. I can take or leave. They're not my favorite sort of songs, being Wild Side and Art of Seduction. They're just kind of there. I know there is an audience for it. It's not my cup of tea, though. Bucket, I just didn't really care for as much. And then we have Go Off, which I'm sure some people will love. It features Russ and Big Sean. I'm not big on Russ. I'm not huge on Big Sean either, but I appreciate him a little bit more. It just kind of feels like a very hype song, which doesn't really fit what I go to Ab-Soul for, I guess, which kind of reminds me of how I felt about Moonshooter, where it's like, okay, yeah, no, it's there, like, stuff is there, but it's not 100% what I want from him. It almost sounds like this is his attempt at getting like a more commercial sounding song while still rapping well. But yeah, then we get towards the end of the album. It Be Like That was one of the songs that I enjoy just because like that's just what I say a lot. It just be that way. It just that's just how it is. Um, and it's just kind of a thing that you say when you either don't have anything to really say, or when you're kind of at the point where it's like, okay, well, whatever I do doesn't matter. Like this is just how it is. So we just gotta deal with it, sort of thing. And it's something that I think people can relate to. I mean, I definitely can. Um, but then this goes into positive vibes only, which out of the context of the album just doesn't sound great. I can tell you right now, I'm probably not going to return to that song very often, but it is, it does make sense with the album and how it was going. Oh yeah, also with it be like that before I forget, it ends with him going like, or not him, but there's a sample where it just goes spiraling and spiraling. And like, I think that sort of like spiraling down into positive vibes only makes a lot of sense, because like you get to the lowest point and then you're like, no, from here on it's only good vibes, positive vibes only. The other one that I forgot to talk about, Herbert, the title track, I believe that's produced by James Blake, which, I mean, he's just been doing really well with hip hop production. But it also goes into a lot of what he's been going through. And I think I mean, obviously it's the title track, so it has to be a really good song. But yeah, if you have to listen to only one song, I would go with that track. The album itself officially wraps up with Gotta Rap. I think Positive Vibes Only is the actual end of the album, but Gotta Rap essentially reiterates a lot of the things that he talked about throughout the entire album, and it has production from DJ Premier. Enjoyable outro. It is, like I said, it wraps everything up pretty well, and it talks about everything that we hear on the album. And I guess if you just want a quick summary of the project, listen to Gotta Rap. Yeah, like he touches on everything, like his self-doubt, his attempt, and where he is now, where he's trying to get to next. But that's kind of my thoughts on the project. Overall, very solid project. It's definitely going to be on my top 10. I'm glad I waited for this album to come out before I even started writing out my top 10, because this is a very good project. Now, will it hold up? Maybe. I think it will. It's one of those projects where, yes, there is some sort of concept to it and a theme to it, but it's not a project that's like, oh, you have to listen to the album in its entirety. Like, for example, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It's hard for me to pick out individual songs outside of the major singles, but this one, yeah, I can just go through and listen to pretty much any song and it'll make sense outside of Positive Vibes Only, realistically. Also, people are just kind of hating on that song, but it's not that bad. But those are my general thoughts regarding this project. If I get time, I will do a proper review. So be on the lookout for that. But that's all I've got. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the album so far. It's been out for like a day, so thoughts change. It is what it is. But let me know what you guys think. While you're down there too, why don't you like and subscribe if you want to see more content and random ramblings like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.